Welcome back to Empower Her podcast. My name is Dr. Aruna Varsani. Today we are going to have a conversation more in and deep diving into the individual who are survivor through the violence, through the different challenges they are facing. So I have a guest in house today. Her name is Pauline, and I do see her as a warrior for all the women out there who are going through the challenges. Pauline, welcome to our podcast.
Thank you so much, and I'm so grateful.
Pauline, let's have a conversation around and educate our audience who's going to watch this podcast. You deal with the survivors.
Yes.
How do you receive these girls? How do you identify? And how did the journey started?
Let me start with how the journey started. I was born and raised in Kibera slums, and I went through violence at the age of 16. I went through sexual violence at the age of 16. I went through domestic violence at the age of 19, and by the time I was 23, I was telling myself that this has to stop. I just didn't know how to stop it, and during the COVID, that was 2019, I received a very disturbing call of a 13-year-old who had just been defiled, and the only person the mother saw was Pauline. So I was called, and I had to travel almost 45 kilometers to rescue a girl, and I took her in my house. And, that is how we just began a shelter to protect girls and young women. It happened to me, and it took me 7 years to actually speak about it because of the fear, because of the threats that I was going through every single time. And when I got this call, this was a 13-year-old, it just triggered something in me. And I was like, this is not happening again. And it's in the midst of COVID. No one wants to actually risk their life to go and rescue anyone. I took the risk. My house was the first shelter, and we started the journey of Rebirth of a Queen organization. And we receive cases right now, 7 years later, we receive cases from police stations. We receive cases from organizations that work for young people or girls that are going through violence. We receive cases even sometimes from the embassy. It's now East Africa, because we rescue cases in sexual violence and human trafficking. Yes.
Oh, wow. The human trafficking is another conversation, but I never knew that you do also come across those ones. But that mostly happens at the street level, or it's everywhere in institution level also?
At the moment, human trafficking happens even in the institution level. I keep saying human trafficking is as simple as taking a girl or a child or a young person from Busia, let me use Busia, to Kajiado, and you're trafficking them for labor. You're trafficking, some go to an extent of sexual exploitation. But as a country, we report it as this was a sexual violence. And Kenya right now, there was a report that came, I think, a month ago, that we are number 2 in human trafficking in the whole Africa.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
it's something that is really bad, because we are a host country. As a country, we are a host country. We host Burundians, we host Rwandese, we host Ugandans, Tanzanians, Ethiopians, and they come to Kenya and they're violated, and we report it as sexual abuse. Yet this is trafficking that led to sexual exploitation.
Are there the policy around this?
Yeah, we have policies around this, but it's not even something that even the police knows. Sometimes you go report in the police station and they tell you that, human trafficking is not a Kenyan thing, but this is trafficking. This started as trafficking. Then it's now sexual abuse. So we can't report it under sexual abuse. This is human trafficking.
So take me process. Let's say you got a call from one of the girl and said, I've been abused. What is the process to come for that girl to your shelter? How do you process the whole case?
So most of the time we get our calls from organizations. So when we get a call from the organization, because we as an organization, we don't rescue directly, again, because of security reasons, we only depend on this partner or on this organization or this police station who's actually calling us, and they're telling us we have a girl and they have an active case going on. They need a shelter. We receive them in our shelter. but they have to have an OB. Number one, they have to have proper documentation from where they are rescued from. Then when they come to Rebirth of a Queen, we have our own entry form as an organization, and then they have to sign a consent, both the guardian or the person who has brought them, for them to stay in our shelter. Yes.
What is active case?
An active case is actually a case that is in the court. Most of the cases that we receive are cases that are in the courts, especially for anyone below 18 years old. This is someone who has gone through defilement, and the case has been reported, and so it's an active case ongoing. This girl is actually exposed to more violence when they stay in the same location where they were abused. And for girls or young women above 18 years old, we receive the cases mostly. We only have 10% of cases that we've received directly from the girls themselves, but most of them come from different shelters that offer temporary shelter. Rebirth of a Queen offers a long-term shelter, because for anyone above 18, we give you up to 2 years in the shelter. So the process is, once you come to the shelter, you'll get psychosocial support. You'll be enrolled in a technical skill that we offer in Rebirth of a Queen, or if we have a partner who's willing to support you, go to an outside school, then Rebirth of a Queen is that space where you can live up to 2 years.
So for 2 years, what does they learn about the skills, but then their food, their necessary need. Basically, I'm talking about now specific clothes, sanitary towels, because these are all women's and menstruating also.
Yeah.
How do you manage that expense? What are the challenges you face there?
So apart from fundraising, right now, as we are as an organization, 70% of our resources comes from fundraising, but 30% of our resources comes from the income generating businesses that we have as an organization. That is the gym. We also do graphics and branding and printing for other organizations, and fashion design. So we produce school uniforms, company uniforms, and very beautiful leather bags and leather products, just to keep our organization going. But still 70% relies on fundraising and donor funding. But we provide, when someone comes to our shelter, it's always like our responsibility. They come to our shelter and they call you Ma'am Pauline, and the moment you're called Ma'am Pauline, just know you're going to fund everything about that person. Yeah.
Yes, because they see you as a mentor, as a mother figure.
Yes.
And that's a powerful word already. So now, when you say the human trafficking, have you ever heard about organ trafficking?
I hear about it, and I hear about it mostly in the media. We've really not come across it.
So it's not in your watch you have come across.
No.
It's just a human trafficking.
Yes.
Okay, and then once they finish their 2 years term, what is the next step for these girls? Where do they go?
So most of the time, by the time we are in year one, most of the girls already have a plan of what they want to do. So right now, Rebirth of a Queen as an organization offers skills, technical skills, and in fashion design, leather production, graphics and design, and content creation. We also have paper packaging and other short courses. So once a girl is taken through 6 months of this training, and then another 3 months of attachment and internship, now we always start a conversation of, can you actually start a life outside Rebirth of a Queen? And we have support, an external support, where we have a housing project as Rebirth of a Queen, but also we've partnered with someone who offers the girls from the shelter maybe 3 months outside the shelter. So for 3 months, this is something, rent that is sponsored, as you plan yourself to actually get your own rent to now be fully independent. Yeah.
I think that's a good space of and enough time to prepare a girl. But while they are with you, how does period poverty make it harder for a survivor to heal or feel like herself again? Specific in this space now.
One of the things, being a survivor is already tough enough. And especially when you're a woman or when you're a girl, you always second guess yourself, you always second guess your own decisions. And now we add period poverty on top. You're not able to access a sanitary towel. Then this means your self-esteem just goes down. And one of the things that we've really tried our best to do as an organization is to make sure there's always enough. And there's always enough even for the young women that don't make it to our shelter, but they're going through abuse even in the community. But sometimes you watch them, not only, period poverty is not only in you not accessing sanitary towels. Sometimes it is you going through an excess pain that you don't understand, and because we normalized, you just take Panadol, you just take painkillers. No, it's going to end. And the conversations that we keep having, don't worry, after you've given birth, this is going to end. So sometimes when the girls come and it's something that is way beyond the organization can support, yeah, we've had to walk through a girl in a gynecologist, and we were like, okay, this is almost a whole year budget. What are we actually going to do? You're outside seeking for support, and each and every time you see this girl, whenever she's almost in her period, she's panicking. We've had to go through that process over and over again. Panic attacks, anxieties, they're going back. Ma'am Pauline, this pain will come again. Ma'am Pauline, what do you think I can do? Ma'am Pauline, I can't do this anymore. And it's actually one of the most frustrating
How
things.
do you support these girls? Because this is more of psychological
Yeah.
effect, right? Where they come from, and the abuse which they go through.
Yeah.
How do you support them? Do you have a mental health officer in your shelter house, or how do you get this help?
So we've partnered with Catholic University, who offer interns to come and actually work to support the girls with their psychosocial support. And also we have one counselor on board for Rebirth of a Queen who's always on call.
Constantly.
Yes, constantly. Yeah. Because randomly you'll get someone who has a panic attack in the middle of the night because they have a bad dream and they cannot sleep, and so everyone else, it's actually the whole organization. We work as a team, and the whole organization come at a standstill, and no one is actually functioning. Yeah.
So tell me the process now when a survivor comes with the additional member like a child. How does she will be assisted? Because the child needs to go to the school. She needs to at least earn something to feed the child, and I'm sure not everything Pauline can do. Even if you are stretching up, you are doing till your last stretch. You're looking up to the other organizations,
Yeah.
but there is that space. You also you have to look up to them also and say, "Let's
Yes.
get things done here now."
Yes.
You have to get up from where you are.
Yes. Yes. So what we're doing this is something that has been ongoing for the last 9 months. So what we do as an organization, there are jobs within Rebirth of a Queen that we don't employ any external person. These are jobs that are done by the girls and the young women in the shelter. Administration job. This is something that is done by the girls and the young women in the shelter. Production. This is something that is done with the girls and the young women in the shelter. So they're able to earn something here and there to just take care of themselves and also take care of the children, especially for those who come with the children. But the tricky one is always when this person is under 18 and they have to go to school. You will have to take care of that child. Yes. Yes.
It's very important to have that space done, because otherwise you become a two mothers, and there is that child who will be more like protected.
Yes.
And be there for the each stage, menstruation stage.
Yes.
But do you normally receive young girls like under the age who are not even menstruating?
We only received one, and it was a very unique case because it had to be rescued. It was a trafficking case, and it's between two countries. So that is the only case. But mostly we receive cases from the age of 14 and above, 14 to 23.
But because nowadays the young girls are getting mature very early age, do you now find it cases which are with the younger girls now?
Right now, the cases that we get are from 14. Mostly, we always try and limit as an organization just to handle 14 years and above.
Okay.
But in the community, we work with girls from age 10 to 25.
Okay.
Yes.
But when you said earlier 2 countries, which 2 countries were these?
The case that we were dealing with is Tanzania and Kenya. So this is someone who has to be repatriated back to their country.
You know, there's something I can reflect. When I was in a Migori County, that's the border of Tanzania, and I came across that all the families are broken in that county. So when I try to figure it out, why there is always half family here, and then I came to know because they go through the FGM practice, and Tanzania has no law.
Yes.
So they go to the other side of the border to practice, but they also leave the girls there only.
Yeah.
So I think when it comes to any border areas, they are very unique people.
They are very, and also
And the families are also different.
And also very unique challenge. Very unique challenges, because you'll stay in one case for over 2 years and it's 1 + 1 is equals to 2. This is not a Kenyan, this is a Tanzanian. They should be in Tanzania, but the government is like, no, we need to have documentation that she is Tanzanian. So it's just, sometimes it's very complicated. But again, one of the things that we're always happy about is that you watch these girls actually growing happier, going to school, and we always try our best to work closely with the government to support us, ensure these girls are in school. Because yes, they don't have any documentation. We understand the NAMIS wants the documentation, but we don't have it, and we are not going to keep this girl at home. Yeah.
And how do you support especially into the providing pads for these girls? How many girls do you have at a go?
Right now we have 22 girls inside the shelter.
Okay.
But we also support 77 outside the shelter. So most of the time, we have girls that actually do their own sewing. They sew sanitary towels. And this is something that, you just randomly encourage them that if you want to use the reusable sanitary towels, you can have the reusable sanitary towels. We have those who choose the other sanitary towels, and we tell them it is okay, it is your choice. You choose what works
as
for you.
long as it's available.
As long as it's available, yes.
Yeah, because
even for the diapers, we've had to tell them you'll have to do your own reusable, because again, we cannot keep on sustaining this. Yeah.
So if period product has to be free tomorrow, how will that change the work you do at the Rebirth of Queen?
Number one, sometimes most of the cases that you get, especially sexual violence that has affected anyone, mostly anyone above 18, below 18, a child, it started with period poverty. It started with poverty, but also
we still go down to there also period poverty.
Yes. So if actually it was to be free then and accessible, then girls would have choices to actually access a menstrual package and be able to say no to another thing. Because sometimes girls are just sexually abused because of a single sanitary towel. Yeah. So I think that would actually change a lot. Yeah.
So do you think having a free period product will also reduce the number of girls coming to your shelter?
Yes. It will, for us, where we sit, it will reduce the sexual abuse that happens, especially deep in the rural community or even in the slums. Yes, it will reduce.
Is your shelter house still in Keserian, the area we came to visit you earlier?
Yes.
Okay. And then how does community react to your shelter house, like in immediate neighbors?
We've really had challenges the last 7 years. We've had to move 6 times. But for 2 years now, we found a community that actually protects us more. A community that knows this is a space that needs to be protected, and a community that actually supports us keep the girls in the shelter in check. Yes. So right now, I would say the community in the shelter has been very amazing. Yes.
And then the one who goes to the regular schools, how are they performing?
Average. I would say average, because this is one of the things that we realized, we keep pushing them to give us maybe the best results. But when you look at this person and you study their past results, this was someone who was performing so well. And now here they are, apart from them going back to school, this is a young mother. This is a 14-year-old who has to wake up, take care of a child, shower, go to school. Then when they come back, they have to take care of themselves and then take care of a child. So we don't rush them into, giving us A's. So sometimes I keep reminding them that, do your best. Do your best and just show up as your best.
Yeah.
Yes.
Pauline, when I was in one of the county, I think it was Samburu, and we also had a case like this, young mom. And when I was distributing pads to the community place, one mom came out from her house and she said, I want a pad for my daughter, and she's inside there. So I said, tell the daughter to come out. I like to talk to her, and then I give her the sanitary towels, because education is also part of what we distribute. And the mom said, no, she's a young mom, she can't come out. The next thing, when I got a chance, I went to her house and I had a conversation with her. You know what she says? Madam, I like to go back to school.
Yeah.
So she was only, I think, 12 years old, if I can recall the correct age. And she was a mom. She said, I want to go back to school. And that time I was partnering with Amref Health of Africa. They have a schools there. They sponsor some girls. And through our fundraising, that time, Together for Better was not that big. And we were not that strong financially. So I had to look into the option. So we did the fundraising, and then under umbrella of Armor of Health of Africa, we said, okay, this specific girl will go back to the school. After 2 years, or I think after 1.5 year time, I can't recall the period, when I went back to that area, and we had a conversation with the same girl, but she was in a school. She was more broken down mentally.
Yeah.
And I thought that this was her ask to, she wants to go back to school, and why she will be not stable now mentally. And when we had a deep dive conversation with her, because there was a mental officer, but she only was limited everything. When we had a conversation with her, you know what came out? That her emotions are with her baby. You see, mentally she wants to be with her friends, because that's where she wants to play with the friends. She wants to be in the school. But now her what do you call the emotions, her body says, I want to be attached with my baby. And she was more into the mental mess.
Yeah.
So having these young moms, I understand what you're dealing with, that you're trying to support, but you're limited. You only tell them to do your best.
Do your best.
Do not post. Don't push that person, because she's already pushing a lot. She's already full of that her capacity.
Yeah.
You can't do more. And now we come to, when the Kenyan curriculum education is so compact.
Yeah.
Even if she can't afford to miss her one period, and because of child not being well, or maybe need to feed or whatever, she's going to miss out 1 or 2 days. How is she going to perform? It's so much to look into it in a one person.
Yes, it's very complex, but sometimes we try and make it better for the girls. We try our best sometimes. When you're an under 18, we keep reminding them that you're a child. So don't introduce yourself as mama. So you're a child.
Yeah, can you believe 8 years old child said, I'm a mama, Mama Peter, or Mama whatever the child name is.
Yeah. So,
I've seen that 8-year-old girl holding a child here, and this was one of the county. And I said, 8-year-old child have a baby? Herself is a baby. How is she going to look after the other baby, which is already, and she's under home. She's not within even a support with the family. I'm sure you come across many times and said, get up and be a strong person.
Yes.
You have to empower that person that way also, and say, it's not time to cry. Get up. And do things. Because I've seen you running middle of night, and I see sometimes you post, and I said, oh, she's looking after the person who is giving birth in a hospital. Where did she go time? This one at middle of night. These are the scenario I've seen your post when I sometimes watch the stories. And I feel like it's not one thing, you have to look after everything. It's not only the shelter.
Yes.
It's not only the food or sanitary towels. It's other things you need to look up to it.
To look at their mental support. And also sometimes, I keep saying sometimes I'm the tough mom. I'm the tough mom who will have to remind you that, no, we're not going to cry here for 1 year. Now you have to wake up and we will have to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Live a life now, because that's what you have to do anyway.
Yeah,
You have
yeah.
been forced to do that.
Yeah.
But you have to constantly remind her that even if you have one challenge, there's other 5 challenge ahead of you.
Yeah,
Let's prepare for that one.
Yes.
Let's manage this and go to that one. I remember when we came to your shelter that time, I think it was long time ago before
Yeah.
COVID, and we say how can we can train these girls to make something to sell also. But underline, you are the one who is a warrior there, looking into the every hour with every challenge
Yeah.
of food, health, and other challenges. Sometimes I'm sure families are coming to you also to attack you
Yeah.
because they want
Most
their
of the
daughters
time.
back.
That's why we've had to move 6 times, because you have someone coming to you and threatening you that, if you dare take this case further, you will know who I am. And I think one of the things that has really helped me is just being an activist from the word go. Yeah, when it comes to protecting a child, especially, sometimes when it's an 18-year-old and it's domestic abuse, we can have a conversation. But when it's a child, when it's a defilement case, no, it's non-negotiable. I keep telling even the local leaders that when it's a child, it is me, then the child. You get to me, then to the child. And we've also had to learn as an organization to protect ourselves. When it's too much, then sometimes, as painful as it is, we retrieve back. And
Okay.
yes, and we let the community now do what they want to do, because there was an incident where we were going to rescue a 13-year-old who was deep in the Maasai land, and she was going through sexual abuse. She was already married off. She was at a risk of getting in fistula. It was just a very complicated case. And when we went there, they decided to unleash the Moran youths on us. And I was like, you know what? We retrieve back. This is your daughter. I had a very heavy conversation with the father. This is your child. This is your responsibility. So if it makes you happy to actually see your own child suffer, then there's nothing I can actually do. And it was too much pain to do that. Especially for me, I remember going back to Kiseri and crying. And we were almost 100 kilometers away from Kiserian. We are still in Kajiado, but it's deep Kajiado.
Yeah.
We went back, and I had to go back 1 month later just to make sure this girl was okay. And 1 month later is when I had to beg the father, kindly allow us to at least take the girl to school. And when she's done with school, we promise you that we are going to bring her back so that you can give her to the man. We are not taking this girl away from her husband. We just want her to get a life so that she's not going to be a burden to you. I think that was a very painful process for me.
And what are the most abuse cases? Like, is sexual abuse or violence? Which one comes in majority?
Sexual abuse.
Aye.
Yeah. Sexual abuse happens a lot. Yeah, it happens a lot.
And these are only few comes to you.
Yeah.
There are millions of girls quiet.
Yes.
Nobody
quiet.
talks about
Nobody
it.
talks about it. And that's why we actually decided to start a fitness program. Because if people cannot have a conversation, if someone cannot just come to Rebirth or a Queen and report a case, because again in Kajiado, you report a case to the police station, you'll only attract shame. So we're still doing our best to create awareness, even in the police station, that, cases such as sexual violence, these are not cases that sometimes there was a time I was in the police station and the police came, where is that girl that is here for the rape case? And I was like, if it were me reporting, I don't think I would even show up again. So we're even trying to create awareness in various ways. Yes, how to manage such cases.
I came across one case is I travel interior very a lot, and that girl, she was went through the rape abuse, and then now parents decided to take the case to the court. This is in a county level, and when I went to school, definitely teacher told me this is the girl, and I had a conversation with her. Pauline, how she was talking like. Like she was so feasted.
Yeah.
And I said, I don't want to record this, but I want to talk to her. So I told my cameraman, I said, go away. And when she talked to me, and she barely speaks 5 words each time when I ask a question. And I was asking question about it, that, are you okay? Do you need more help? And she said, no, I don't need any more help and I don't want to go to the court. I said, why will she do that? She was very young girl, under 10. And I said, why will she will do that? And then it took me some time to talk to her, but definitely additional information. I got it from my teacher and said, each time, every 3 weeks, I think there's a court case happening and she has to go for the hearing.
Yeah.
And she has to each time explain herself
Over and
exactly over and over what happened to her. She said, that's more now traumatizing me. I can't forget, but I'm not even easing it out to even perform in my any other things. I'm more traumatized now that every time I'll go to the court, the people will ask me that, what did men do to you physically, how it did, which area, what this. And she said, I can always keep taking my mind to those moments and I can never forget. So can you please stop taking me to the court?
Yeah.
I'm done here.
Yeah.
And this is under 10 years old girl. So I understand when you're telling me that when they have been taken to the courts or from far you have been told you are a victim.
Yeah.
How do you feel? How a girl will carry that message? Like, it affects. It's mental effects.
Yeah.
Continuous. Somebody keeps tagging you with that name.
Yeah.
It does feel.
Yeah.
There is a damage we are doing.
I think what we've done as an organization, we really limit those hearings. We limit them.
Is it in your control?
It is.
Oh.
We work with the lawyers. We have lawyers who volunteer for different cases. We limit them. Once the statement was written, we will have maybe 2 hearings, and then we will just sometimes we tell the lawyers that this girl is not actually mentally stable to actually go to the court, because we've seen that every time this person has to go to the court and face their perpetrators, that night we are not going to sleep. We are actually not going to sleep, because this person will have to tell their story over and over again. And so sometimes during our storytelling sessions, we teach the girls to rewrite their own stories, to tell their own stories in ways that make them comfortable. As Pauline, where I am always comfortable to talk about my story, but there are things I am never comfortable to talk about it, because it reminds me.
Yeah, your story became your strength now. And voice to those thousands of girls who are going through. Yeah, and you've seen there is a mission you are driving into. That's why you're putting your story front. But not every girl can do that also.
Yes. And sometimes even when the visitors come, we tell them, don't ask them about their personal stories. Don't ask them. Sometimes they're just not comfortable. And one of the things that I'm always so proud of the girls in our shelter is the fact that they'll even tell you what title you need to use, especially when we are doing newsletters. They'll tell you, we don't want to be called victims. Sometimes they don't even want to be called survivors, because they feel like the name actually brands them and it doesn't make them feel better. So this is something that we've consistently taught them, that you rewrite your own story. You give yourself a new name if you want. Yeah, you give yourself a new brand if you want. We have girls in the shelter who come and they'll tell you that, no, I don't want to be called with that name. That is what the abuser called me. I want to be called by this other name, which is still my name, but this other name actually makes me feel better about myself. Yeah.
I think it's a good practice, but is also I'm not sure if you can say it is a how we put it out there, because we are trying to tell her to forget and at least rewrite something. Try to look up to the forward life. Don't go backward. But in her mind, that part of her brain constantly will have that memory.
Trust me, yes.
So she has to have a filter herself always, that now I'm here, I'm doing this, but I'm here, I'm doing this. But she has to carry both life together.
Yes. My own story, it's 15 years down the line since I was sexually abused. And trust me, I walk with that every single day. In every decision I make, there are offices I don't knock, because that day also triggered to actually meet a man. There are clothes I don't wear because they still trigger me.
See?
So this is not something that you actually say, I am living it. Part of rewriting your story is actually you accepting that, you see, that it took me time. Last year when I turned 30, I sat down with a therapist and I told the therapist, I actually don't see myself as a 30-year-old. I feel like I'm a 19-year-old because when I went through domestic violence at 19, my life stopped. But, what does life teach? What does, especially our country, what does it teach us? You have to keep going. You have children. You have to take care of them. You have to feed them. So you don't even have time to actually realize
think about it or
that you've
realize.
actually left someone and everything that you do. Because I don't know, at some point I made a decision and I was like, wait, Pauline, you're now leading an organization. You can't make such a decision. And when I went through therapy, one of the things I'm always gifted is I always know myself so well. And this is a journey that I've had to walk with people who will always spot, Pauline, okay, we are back. We are back to that little girl. Whatever you did right there was just that little girl. There was a time I went to a shoot and I was like, yeah, today I'm going to put on a green dress. And I've never posted those photos because they're like, no, I'm not ready.
You see, it's never healing.
Yeah,
it's never healing. Even if you try to filter it, you protect it, you talk about it, you're championing for it, it never heals.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing this journey, especially, and being a leader, a warrior, a fighter, and go-getter to those girls who are suffering under the shelter, and creating the safe shelter to regain that confidence, to rebuild a person in it, because of you.
Yes.
The woman exists out there also. Because of you, the law works in some areas. Because of you, the policies have been looked up to it every time when you bring the case to the official bodies.
Yes.
So thank you so much for advocating for those girls and protecting under your shelter house. I know every time we are going through a different challenge. It's never be the same challenge.
Yes.
But tackling that. So today, I think this is the platform. What do you want to give your last message to our listener, that how someone comes to support you, or what they should be identifying when they're looking at the shelter house, or what is your last message to them?
Before I actually go to my last message, I'll also want to thank you for actually championing for the rights of girls and young women. And when you got your doctor title, I was so, when you got your doctor title, I was so inspired. I was like, yeah, now she's Dr. Aruna, championing for education and reminding even young women who are leading like us that, I can actually create impact and look after myself and chase my dream and still have a goal. That meant a lot. And whenever I follow your journey, it means a lot. Some of us have been there following your journey, even beyond 2019. We've been there following your journey. And each time I see it growing, how you work with volunteers, how you bring people together to actually champion for a cause for other people, how you go... we call it off tarmac, how you go off tarmac to just ensure that girl deep in Baringo actually can access sanitary towel, and they can access information on menstrual hygiene. That means a lot. And it's because of people like you that we actually look up and say, yeah, if Together for Better is there, we are actually going there. So for us, that means a lot for us and for Rebirth of a Queen. And also as a young woman, your doctor title meant a lot for me.
Thank you.
And to anyone who wants to support Rebirth of a Queen organization, we're actually rebuilding our organization, and that means we are looking for materials to build our skills training center to be better. And whenever someone has cloth donation, food donation, these are things that our shelter needs over and over again. And also volunteers who can come on board to just champion for us. This is not a Pauline's journey. This is our journey to create a better world for girls and young women and young people who are vulnerable to sexual abuse and human trafficking. Thank you so much for this platform.
Thank you, Pauline. Thank you, all of you listening. If you want to support the Rebirth of Queen, please, you will get the information in our link also. I'll make sure I take them also. Remember, there is that one girl look up to you. So be a rebirth person there out there to build the better future for that person. And be you, be a warrior. And therefore, I'll say we are always together for better. Thank you.
Thank you so much.